The Roman shield and the Viking shield are both very iconic and intriguing shields, but which one would you rather wield if you were to fight for your life? Hello number ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and for those of you who are here for the first time, if you like knights in shining armor, samurai, Vikings, Roman soldiers, Spartans, all of these things, make sure to subscribe to my channel and to click the notification bell to never miss an upload from the Metatron. As those of you who have been following me for a while already know, I'm obsessed with weapons, particularly ancient weapons. I find them absolutely fascinating. It can be a mace, it can be a sword, it doesn't really matter, I like them all. But shields are also intriguing, and if I have to be 100% honest, I actually find shields more intriguing than weapons. So the Viking shield and Roman shield are very different, and yet they do share some similarities. Of course, there is a major difference in size. The Roman scutum, whether it be late Republican scutum or Imperial scutum, is bigger than a Viking shield. But some Viking shields can also be quite big in their own respect. Definitely one of the main differences you can see with the Roman shield is the fact that it covers more of your body, but that also means that it will be heavier. So that's one of the first differences. But what about the grip? How differently are these two shields gripped? Well, both are centered boss. What this means is that both shields are gripped in the center. They have a hole and a handle that your hand needs in order to be able to grip the handle. Video games often make a mistake in the way they place the handle because they attach the handle to the shield in a way that in reality would be done only for shields that need to be pinned on a wall for decoration. A handle like that wouldn't work. It would change completely the properties, the weight balancement of the shield, and it would just make it extremely difficult to use. Not to mention, a proper hit on the shield might even break your wrist. In reality, particularly centered bossed shields had the handle inside the shield, in the center, and that's why you needed a hole in the center of the shield, parallel to the rest of the structure. Now, obviously, a hole in the center of the shield used for the handle would also mean that your hand would be exposed, and that is the reason why you've got metal bosses that are placed in these shields to protect the hand that otherwise would have been exposed. Now, another thing we're going to explore today is also the orientation of the grips, both on the Roman scutum and the Viking Norse shield. Of course, with the Roman scutum being horizontal, with the Viking shield being vertical, and the pros and cons with these two kinds of grips. But before doing that, I'd like to spend a moment to talk about the sponsor that made this video possible, namely Viking Jewelry. Now, the guys at Viking Jewelry have been very kind and have sent me this very beautiful bracelet, and I'd like to show you this bracelet and talk a little bit about an amazing discount that you can have access to right now. If you click the link in the description below, you'll be able to check out their site and see all the different bracelets and pendants and rings that they've got, some made of silver, some made of bronze. There is really a lot of stuff, and if you like Viking and Norse mythology, then I strongly suggest you to check them out. Now is the time to go check out their site, because you can get a 30% discount with the code META30. This 30% discount will be valid for 48 hours from the release of this video. You will find a link in the description below. Now, the reason for this discount is actually quite cool. It's to celebrate Ostara, the Germanic goddess. So make sure you take full advantage of the discount you've got because of Ostara, and happy shopping. Although both the Viking shield and the Roman shield are centered bossed, differently from, for example, medieval shields that were instead strapped, or even Greek shields for that matter that were strapped, the handles in these two shields are placed differently. The Roman shield has got a horizontal handle. What this means is that basically you hold it in a similar way to the way you would hold a briefcase. The Viking shield, on the other hand, has got the handle in a vertical position, which means that it's going to be held in a completely different way, even though it is a centered boss shield. In both cases, we're talking about specific choices. I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about it, the Viking shield is a round shield, which means that you could theoretically turn it around and hold horizontally. You could turn the vertical grip into a horizontal grip, but the Norse warriors chose to hold it differently because their way of fighting, the way the shield was supposed to move, was based on a vertical grip. But what about the Romans? Why did they choose to hold their shields horizontally? Well, the reason is because first, Roman shields were heavier, as we said. And when you are carrying a shield for a very long time inside a formation during a proper massive battle, a shield of that size that is going to cover your entire body. If the Roman scuta had vertical grips similar to those of the Vikings, Roman legionaries would have tired a lot more easily and a lot more quickly. The horizontal horizontal grip allows you to carry the shield for a lot longer without getting tired as quickly. That is, of course, if you do it properly. So if you keep your left arm, so the arm that is holding the shield, extended as much as you can. Because if you start bending your arm and holding it like this, or holding it out, then of course you will tire. But if you hold it close to your body, everything will work together and you will be able to carry the shield for a longer time and use it for a longer time. But an interesting point that I would like to make now before we continue with the comparison is the fact that this, again, as I say, was a choice. The Romans knew that strap shield existed, for example, and I can prove this to you with this piece of iconography, for example, that shows that Roman auxilia that were using certain kinds of round shields would sometimes strap them in a very similar way to how they did in the Middle Ages. So the Romans knew that shields could be strapped. I mean, at the end of the day, the Greeks strapped their shields anyways, and most likely early Roman shields would have been copied from Greek examples, so most likely would have been strapped. So the Romans abandoned the strapped shield and decide to move into the horizontal shield. There are other reasons. One of the reasons is also the choice of shape. So the Romans are moving from a round circular shield into a rectangular shield. The reason for this, of course, is to grant more protection, because now the Roman scutum protects you from the clavicle all the way down to basically below your knee, half your shin. So most of your body now is protected. And if they had kept it as a series of planks, then they could have strapped it to the arm. But the reason why they couldn't strap them anymore is because they choose to make them bent. And the reason for that is, again, to increase even more the defensive capability of the scutum that now starts to wrap around each soldier. Of course, now that the scutum is extremely bent, you won't be able to strap it anymore to your arm, and therefore they had to come up with a different solution. The Viking shield also gives you a reasonable amount of protection, but of course it's not going to be as protective as the Roman shield. But it's going to be lighter, and it will be able to be used offensively more easily than the Roman scutum. Given you can still use the Roman scutum offensively, you can still punch people with the Roman scutum. It's not that you can't. You can move it around, but it is harder to do that with a Viking shield, also because of the way the shield pivots, because of the grip that it has, because of the way you hold it. It also allows you to experiment with a very dynamic way of fighting in a hand-to-hand combat scenario. So one thing that both shields do extremely well is protecting you from arrows and missiles of any kind. But of course, from that point of view, I would give a slight advantage to the scutum because it is bigger and therefore it protects more of your body. But in terms of hand-to-hand fighting, then it really depends on the situation. It really depends on the context. If you are in a formation, I would definitely go for a formation of scuta, because with many scuta you can create more effective shield walls than you can with Norse shields. Although, again, Norse shields also were used to create shield walls, so they would still be effective, just in my opinion, not as effective as Roman shields. But if I were to find myself in a 1-to-1, a 1v1 duel, then the situation becomes different, because it really depends on whether I want to be more dynamic, on whether I want a lighter shield. Ultimately, it is armor that will make the real difference in this discussion. Because if I am fully armored, like a Roman soldier would have been, then even in a duel, one-on-one, I would prefer the Roman scutum. But if I didn't have much armor, then I would rather use a Viking or a Norse shield, because I would feel that I need to be able to move more quickly and more dynamically in order to overcome my opponent and make the best of my shield. With the Roman scutum, you don't move as much. You're not as agile as you would be with a Norse shield. And that's interesting because, as you notice, it's not really the armor. I can wear full armor, full Roman set, and still be very dexterous, but the scutum is what kind of limits my movement rather than the armor that I'm wearing, which is okay if it's in pair with proper armor, because generally speaking the scutum is protecting the center of mass, and even more if you think about it, because it protects your left limb and it protects your leg and most of your torso, and the helmet and the shoulder plates of your lorica segmentata or hamata, so your armor, will protect those areas that the scutum is not there to protect. You don't really expect Roman legionaries to start raising their shields all the time trying to protect these areas, because these areas are protected by the Roman armor anyways. But if I didn't have that armor, then I would rather use a shield that allows me to move it around more quickly and nimbly. One last thing I'd like to say about the Viking shield, the Norse shield, is also the fact that you have a higher reach with it. So when you have a centered boss shield, you can completely extend your arm and the shield will get further away from you, which means that you can, in a way, disturb your opponent's movements and lines of defense more easily than you could with a Roman Scutum, because as I said, with a Roman Scutum, yes, you can extend it the same way, but it's going to tire you very quickly. And even with a strapped shield, like a medieval shield, although these are shields that I like very much, I really like the strapped configuration, it doesn't allow you to reach as far away because of the fact that the center of the shield will be here. Instead, with a Norse shield, the center would be here, so further away. So reach is an advantage that the Norse shield has over any other shield, to be honest. So basically, personally, I would choose the Roman shield. I think it's a more effective shield, it's a more professional shield, and I would choose it both in a battle situation and in a duel situation if I had access to armor. If I didn't have access to armor, then on a battlefield in a unit, I would still go for the Roman Scutum, but in a duel 1v1, then I would rather use a Norse shield together on pair with either an axe, a sword, or a spear. Maybe a spear would be better, but depending on whatever, any of these would work for me. But this is of course just my opinion. Let me know, what shield would you prefer? Would you rather go for a Scutum or would you rather go for a Norse shield? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, Noble Ones, well I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember thumbs up, and if you're still not yet members of this community, become a Noble One. Subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. Also, don't forget to click the link in the description and make full use of the discount that you've got today for the beautiful artifacts and items made by Viking Jewelry. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.